Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. Thank you for watching this video. So in this video, we will discuss on how we do communicating over the networks and specific on two model of a network. The two popular model in this network. First is Open System Interconnection, also known as the OSI model, and another one is TCP/IP model or Internet model. So both models have been adopted as a formal model which allow us to deal with the various aspects of network abstractly based on the concept of layering. So in both model we will deal with the concept of layering. OSI model consists of 7 layers, and in TCP/IP or Internet model consists of 5 layers. So in 1984, OSI reference model was approved as an international standard for communication architecture by the ISO, International Standard Organization. The term opens denotes the ability to connect any two systems, which conform to the reference model and associated with the standard. The OSI model was considered the primary architectural model for intercomputer communication, and it described how the information or data makes its way from application program through a network medium and to another application program that located on another network. So basically, this model try to explain on how from one device transfer to another device, transfer the data to another device over the network. Okay, means through the internet. So, it divides the problem moving information between one computers to another computers over a network medium into 7 smaller and more manageable layers. So basically, you can refer to this figure. In OSI model, we have 7 layers. These layers try to explain how a data, a message from one computer is trying to travel throughout the internet to being received by another computer. So that data will go through these 7 layers. First, it goes from the application layers. Application layers, for example, when you want to send an email, so application layers, and at the application layer, they have different protocol with the another layers. Okay, for example, you want to send an email. So at the application layer, it will give you an application like Gmail. You can see what is Gmail did. So go from the application layer, the data will travel to the presentation layer, and then it will travel to the session layers. That's why we need to log in, log out, that what you call as a session for communicate. And then it goes through the transportation layer or transport layer. So after the data go to transport layer, it go to the network in a form of packet or datagram. Okay, after the network layer, it goes to the data link layer in form of bit or frame of data. Then it goes to the physical layers. So physical layers refer to the interface from one device to another device. So the form is in a bit layer. In a bit data. The form of data is in a bit. So from sender application, the data will go through from application layers to the physical layers. In order to transmit to another receiver side, okay, from the physical layers we'll go to the physical layers at the receiver side, and then from the physical it goes to data link, goes to the network, goes to the transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. Then the receiver can read the email. So You need to imagine how the data travel when you send an email, when you write an email, or it's just like when you sending a letter to your friend through the post office. You write a letter. Okay, you write a letter. The writing process, use your pen, paper, and write down, and then you put your letter into the envelope. The process of encryption. Okay, encryption, put envelope, put the IP address, put the address of your friends, put the stamp, and then send the stamp to the post office. Okay, at the post office, it will collect your letter. It will identify what is the address, should be sent at Johor, should be sent at Perak, or so on. Refer to the postcode, right? The address. Based on the address, it will identify what kind of the medium that need to be used. Either naik motor, or choose a lorry, or need go for the airplane flight ke. So it will identify what kind of transportation, and then from the transportation, the postman goes and divide your letter. So the process of sending an email is like similar on sending a letter in the real world. Okay, so at this part, you should know what is the OSI model and what are the layers inside the model. So basically, we have the 7-layer model for the OSI, and for the TCP/IP, it consists of 5 layers. So these are the difference between the OSI model and the TCP/IP model. Numbers of layer. At the TCP/IP model, these 3 layers are combined as one layer that we call as application layer. And then transport layer, same transport layer, network layer, internet layer, also known as the internet layer or network layer. And then we have the data link and physical. Physical refer to the hardware. Data link refer to the network interface. So that are the difference between the OSI and TCP IP model. Both are the model that widely used in order to explain on how the communication over the network done. Okay, TCP IP is model that come or exist about 10 years before the OSI model, but the standardized we use the OSI model. However, the TCP IP model is more realistic in the internet model. Means the TCP IP is more realistic compared to the OSI when we talk about the process of accessing the layer. And when we want to accessing the layer, we need to use a protocol layer. So different layers based on the OSI or the internet model, they have different layer. Okay, for example, if at the application layer, we have SMTP layer, HTTP layer, DNS, Telnet, FTP layer, the layers that the users need. The users can identify what kind of layers that we use. Okay, at the application layers, and then at the transmission layers, we use TCP protocol. Okay, so this protocol layers support the communication between devices across the diverse network. We have a variety of network, so we need layers. We need a protocol that can control the communication. So the protocol that we need is the TCP, and then the next layer we have the internet protocol layer or internet addressing, or IP address or IP internet protocol. So that protocol determines the best path through the network. Okay, and then we have the network interface, or we call as Ethernet. Okay, This control the hardware device and media that make up the network. Okay? At this layer, it will control about the hardware, the device that we use over the network. We have several network, and several network have different device that they use. You may use a router from the D-Link. You may use a router from the TP-Link. So different type of network or different type of devices. And then we have the hardware part or the physical connection from connection. At the network interface, it control the hardware devices and media that make up the network. And then we have the physical layers. At the physical layer is more on the hardware or the physical connection, wireless or wired. So the internet protocol or TCP/IP is based on divide and conquer the modus operandi to define and use the architecture of communication, application, transport, interconnection, network and link, data link, and the distance, which is referred to the physical link. So the role of each layer are different. Okay, for example, application layer is more on the what the user deal with. Okay, what the user deal with. And the protocol is like SMTP for the email, FTP for transferring file, and then we have SMPT, SMP, SNMP. Okay, simple network management protocol. We have what else? TF, TP, trivial file transfer protocol. We have the domain name system that the user deal with. And then at the transport layers, the transport layer is responsible for reliable source to destination, from one source to the destination, from the sender to the receiver. So it's responsible for the entire message to be delivered. Okay, this one is based on the TCP/IP layers, and this layer is equivalent with the OSI layer reference of transport layer from end-to-end communication. Okay, the next part under TCP/IP we have internet layer. So internet layer is also known as transport layer. So this layer use the IP in order to carry data from source to host, or from source host to destination host, from host to host. Transport layer from source to destination. Internet layer from source host to destination host, host to host. The protocol under in transport we have TCP, UDP, okay, datagram transport layer, transport protocol layer. At the internet layer we have a protocol like IP address, internet protocol, ICMP, the internet control message protocol. Okay, and then we have the link layer. So at the link layer, this layer communicate directly connected to the network. And then we have the physical layer that provide the physical interface for the transmission of information or data. So that is the explanation of the TCP/IP and OSI model. You should know what are the layers involved and what are the responsible of each layers inside the OSI, as well as the responsible of each layer inside the TCP/IP or internet model. So in those protocol, IP can be considered as the most successful protocol that being developed in this world. And then Dave Clark have proposed a hourglass model. So hourglass model, it look like this one, the hourglass model. So IP is at the center part. And some of this researcher suggests the wine glass architecture instead of the hourglass model. So at the top of the hourglass, um, is try to try it's try to explain on the uh, application part and transport part, and then at this part is more on the physical and detailing layer. So at the middle we have the IP packet. So this is the hourglass architecture of the internet. So the top is individual application, uh, the bottom part is individual link, depends on what links that you do, that you use, what the application that you use. At the middle, for every node is same. We use the IP in order to send the data from one part to another part. So that's all for this part. Hopefully you know what is the OSI, what is the TCP/IP model, and how they act or they respond in order to allow you accessing the internet. So don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. See you in the next video. Assalamualaikum.